Hello, everybody. Good morning. Thank you for joining. We're just going to take a minute and then we'll get started. All right. Welcome. Happy Monday. My name is Shaz. I am the Engineering Applications and Training Manager here at Bosch Home Comfort. Today, we're really excited to do the announcement for our IDS families low GWP product launch. And we are going to be providing you the product overview and going through some of the key changes from our R410A product line. So our very esteemed trainer, Chris Penn, from Northwest region of the United States, is going to be presenting this. Chris has been with Bosch for about 2 years or 3 years,
Yeah,
Chris,
two,
right?
two years now. Yep.
2 years and leading a lot of our initiatives here. So Chris will be walking us through the product line. Chris, over to you.
Thanks, Shaz, and good morning, everybody. I believe it's still morning for everybody. I kind of like Sal. I'm broadcasting from a hotel room from the Central Time Zone currently, as that's where I'll be this week. So hopefully I won't get any technical difficulties. But thanks for joining us this morning while we cover the the rest of the low GWP R454B product line. As most of you are aware, we did launch the Ultra last late September, early October. And now, due to inventory levels, we are getting ready to launch the rest of the product line. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. I'm gonna do my best to make sure we get as much information to you guys as possible today. I have been through sharing some of this knowledge already in the last couple of months with some of you, so it might be review for some, it might be new for others. And if for some reason there's a question I cannot answer, we'll make sure that we get with our sales team. Perhaps maybe one of them are on the call today that we can get a question answered if I can't answer it for you. So please use the chat room. Shaz will monitor the chat room as well. And then we'll have a Q&A at the end for any other questions we need to address. As we get started, it wouldn't be a Bosch training meeting, webinar, class, if you will, without basically telling everybody what we do and how we do it. And that is we make home comfort green. So with the launch of the IDS Ultra, of that cold climate, we heard some success stories from guys like Steve Grady this morning on Breakfast with Bosch and that IDS Ultra and what it can do. We have some other good features and benefits for the remaining product line of that 454B product line, of which you basically see here pictured. The slide is pretty normal, or I should say in a lot of our literature today. But as we progress into 2025, everything you see here that has refrigerant is being shifted over. Okay. And for us, I don't think it is a surprise that we are shifting everything over to 454B. For various reasons. One of the big reasons is that low GWP rating of 466. While that number was set by the government at 700, we chose the 466 number with this refrigerant so that we perhaps don't have to change sooner than others may have to from a different refrigerant choice. So this is what we're using across the entire product line. There is this QR code here on the screen that you can certainly use as well, but this is directly from our website. From a Q&A standpoint, as far as transition, some of the do's and the don'ts and the safeties and this and that, I would encourage anybody that has not gone through any A2L training that they do to perhaps eliminate any doubts or fears or anything like that. And I'll just say one thing here, one of the big things with 454B and what everybody was, I guess, freaking out about was the mildly flammable. If you aren't aware or don't know, currently the refrigerant we're using, 410A, is also mildly flammable, and that may be news to some of you. Where I'm going with this is there's really nothing to be afraid of as long as we stick to our safe installation practices while using this refrigerant, then there's really not going to be any change. And the other thing too here is we're going from high pressure to high pressure, so there is no additional changes there as when we went through the R22 to 410A transition, if you were part of that. So let's dive into the IDS product overview. As far as what we're doing moving forward, the technology is still remaining the same. It is inverter technology where we're going to adjust compressor speed to match desired temperature. The algorithms, if you will, or the target coils that we have talked about in the past might be slightly different moving forward. And those aren't not necessarily numbers that are actually published, but numbers that we extract through some testing. I do have some numbers to share as we go through this. But it really truly is, it's all about the electrification. It's all about the inverter technology moving forward. And that's the direction that we're going. Product lineup, IDS product lineup. The IDS Ultra on the far right, as I mentioned, was launched late September, early October. It's been out there now in circulation for various climates. A lot of success stories out there. But as far as the other products go, we're looking at the IDS Lite, the IDS Plus, and the IDS Premium. Same product that we had before. Okay, there's a couple caveats here, and we're going to go through this slide to make sure that we understand what some of those caveats are. But the biggest one is the IDS Plus outdoor unit, the actual physical box. Moving forward in 2025, we are not going to have the IDS Plus box. However, when paired with taking an IDS Lite and when paired with a 20 SEER air handler, we are going to get the IDS Plus numbers. And this is why you see in that IDS Plus column why we are now moving forward with an actual 2-ton, 3-ton, and 5-ton matchup. Okay, so as we knew the IDS Lite before, the IDS Lite hasn't changed. We still got the 4 air handlers across the board, 2-ton through 5-ton. As far as the outdoor unit SKUs, IDS Lite was a 2, 3, and a 5, and now moving forward, the IDS Plus will also have that. As far as operating range goes, we're looking at +3 on the low end for the IDS Lite and up to 120. That is also the same for the Plus, and then we still currently have the operating range on the Premium -4 to 125. Still using a GMCC compressor. On the Premium and Plus air handler models, we're still using a constant torque ECM motor. A couple of changes there that we'll talk about here in a second. And as far as the IDS Lite air handler, so as far as the OEM or if you will, the IDS Plus line or IDS line, I should say, the air handlers are still 15 and 20 SEER air handlers. Okay. We'll talk about a couple others that we're in transition as well here in a bit. But that IDS Lite air handler, that 15 SEER air handler, still has a PSC motor in it. As far as footprint goes, I did make a couple of highlights here only because some of these numbers were kind of all hard to put in the boxes, but the 5-ton model is still going to be the 29 by 29 footprint with the 33 inches tall. Okay. The 2-ton and the 3-ton, it's still going to be the 28 by 28 footprint on the IDS Lite and Plus. Again, IDS Lite is pairing with a 20 SEER air handler to make the Plus numbers. And we're still 8 inches tall difference. As far as the Premium, same thing. That listed there is the 5-ton model. The only thing that changes on the Premium is the height of the 3-ton versus the 5-ton. So still 2 SKUs on that Premium. We got the 3 outdoor SKUs on the Lite and the Plus. And then we've got the 4 air handlers across the board. IDS Premium still going to have a gateway. So we still have the Bluetooth 4G gateway moving forward in that, whereas the Lite and the Plus did not have that technology. So that's the lineup that's the 454B lineup moving into 2025. Nomenclature, just a couple of changes here on the outdoor unit as far as some of the numbers there, the R, the T, the refrigerant change. Nothing too special here on nomenclature. On the indoor unit, one of the things, the BIVA, so Bosch and indoor, vertical air handler, etc. Again, 454B change now, so a little bit of changes on the nomenclature side. The Ultra is not listed here only because we launched the Ultra previously, and so this launch of product is just covering these three at this particular moment. In fact, we could probably call this phase one. We've got a couple air handlers that we're not quite ready to launch yet, and perhaps we'll call that phase two. So let's dive into each one a little bit individually as to some of the changes that came about. I think you'll find and notice through these changes, not a lot of big changes, but there are some very subtle changes that make a huge impact. As far as the efficiency numbers, we are looking to the CR2 HSPF2 numbers. We talked about the footprint a little bit. Some of the adjustments in speed or capacity range, slightly different numbers from what I understand. Here currently 35 to 130 in cooling and 34 to 130 in heating. I think it was a little bit different in numbers there. Still operates down to -4. We still have that gateway and wireless connectivity with the Bosch Easy Air app. And so that is still going to be that too. There's going to be a push kind of moving forward too in 2025 as we talk about the Easy Air app and some changes made and registering a product. And so that's going to be a big thing. Ease and accessibility of registering product when it is connected to that Easy Air app. So we're going to have to continue to train and educate on that. But one of the biggest changes was this is now an optional communication system. So what do I mean by communicating or optional communicating? We are not going communicating with thermostat. Okay. We're still able to use third-party thermostat. We're still able to use Bosch BCC 110 thermostat. And that will not be a communication portion as some people know it. This optional communication is going to be a 2-wire communication between the indoor and the outdoor unit. We're going to call this a P&Q type terminal. We are recommending a shielded twisted pair, or we're going to ground out both ends type communication cable, just as we were running anything else that was, in a communication protocol. And this particular communication is only basically going to be for increased dehumidification. Okay, so what I mean by that is with some additional updates that are coming to the BCC 110, we're also looking at not only being able to lower fan speed, we're going to be able to automatically lower coil target temperatures through this communication protocol. Okay, so that's been a change there. It is listed as optional. It's not something you have to do, and it's going to be region specific. Perhaps you're down in the southeast, where it's very prominent, unlike where I'm at in the Pacific Northwest. But it is an optional thing. One keynote here on the wiring is we do not want to connect conventional wiring to communication wiring at the same time. If we do, we'll have component failures. So that's some little bit overview on that premium connected. Along with that, some notable changes that were made to the product internally is because we're moving to 454B, we had to add A2L sensors. And just like the IDS Ultra, we've got an A2L sensor and that's located on the indoor unit. This sensor, upon sensing a refrigerant leak, the protocol in the system and why we had to update the indoor board was that not only do we got to turn the compressor off, we now have to turn the indoor fan speed to high. Okay, so made some changes to the board to accommodate that. had to put a couple of communication terminals on there, and then there's actually an alarm terminal on there as well that can be used as a third-party audible in the case of refrigerant leaks. If you had a customer that needed or wanted some sound to it, we can certainly install a third party there. So no changes to the wiring. Still conventional 4-wire. The big change here that's not on the slide is the color of our common wire is moving from brown to black. So for those of you taking notes, our common wire moving forward is going to be a black wire, not a brown wire. Compressor, of course, had to be 454B compatible. Again, it is a GMC compressor. And the reversing valve. Some of you may not know this or remember this. The reversing valve coil in our system used to be 24-volt coil reversing valve. Across the board, that reversing valve coil is now moving to a 220-volt reversing valve coil. And that had to do because of the communication efforts or communication protocol we had to build in that outdoor board. So they basically took that built-in transformer, if you will, out, made the reversing valve a 220-volt coil. So keynote there, we're talking about some higher line voltage there for that reversing valve. We had to change the indoor fan motor to help mitigate some of the flammability risk. TXV, compatible TXV. Here's a big one. We added an additional pressure transducer. This pressure transducer is going to aid improvement of measurement of liquid line subcool. So what's going to happen here? Not only are we more precise in control, I think, for example, I think we're running about 10 PSI difference. We are now within 1.5 PSI difference on this. And the machine is going to calculate subcooling for us. Okay, so what that means is our point check button, we're actually going to have a liquid, we're going to have a line item for liquid line subcool, so that we don't have to do the math ourselves. And then we did some changes to the outdoor fan driver, some updates to the board, also to allow not only communication, that reversing valve coil, and so forth. But for the most part, the board is going to be fairly recognizable from previous versions. Logic. So as far as logic goes on the premium, all the logic stays the same. We're still looking at, as the manual calls it, enhanced and stuff as far as coil target temperatures. Those are still going to remain the same. Currently, we do not have a quick start guide on this product yet, but we have one in the works coming soon to learn perhaps where some of those are. But the settings of the dip switches would be similar. The only thing that changed was the algorithm or the logic for that dehumidification communication setting. So like I said, not only are we going to lower fan speed, we are now going to be able to reduce our target coil temperature automatically in this configuration. Here's another big one, power, electrical. The electrical as we knew it was a 45 amp circuit on the 3-ton and a 60 amp circuit, on the 5-ton. That has now changed. In addition to that, I know I may not have something in a slide here. I'll just mention this. The refrigerant charge of these units, nameplate refrigerant charge, was reduced by 10%. And then also here, the electrical requirements. For various reasons, I don't know that I can fully answer, but this is big news that that 3-ton is now a 30 amp circuit and that 5-ton is a 45 amp circuit. Okay, moving on. IDS Plus. So same 18 SEER inverter technology. Still fully modulating inverter drive up to 18 SEER 2, 8.5 HSPF2. We've got those 3 condensing units that I mentioned, which we did not have in, let's say, our previous generation. It was only 2 condensing units. Now, as we are pairing a 15 with a 20 indoor, it gave us some additional options here. I'm also going to note, and I don't have copies of this handy right this second, but on our website, the brochures for 454B product are already published on our website. So I would challenge you or encourage you to go download those brochures. You will see that there are some 5-on-3 matchups, not only in the light category, but also in the IDS Plus category. Okay. So please consult those brochures for that. We still have capacity range from 24 to 60, and our adjustments are 33 to 110. Another key factor or note here is this too has optional communication for the IDS Plus only. And this communication comes in a couple of forms. The outdoor board had a Q&P terminal added to it also, but it only works when paired with the 20 SEER because it's the 20 SEER air handler that has the same Q&P terminals. So if paired 15 on 20, we can also do this optional communication route to achieve that more accurate control and better dehumidification. When it's 15 on 15, we do not have that option. So system pairing, as I mentioned, 15 matched with a 20 is going to give us our 18 SEER numbers. Okay. The 15 on 15 will give us our IDS light numbers as listed in the brochure as far as SEER ratings and HSPFs. And then I had mentioned earlier the previous additional air handlers coming forward, just not ready to quite launch them yet. And that is that BWA 16 and BCA 16. So that'd be the wall mount and that ceiling mounted air handler. So be on the lookout for those. Those are coming soon. IDS Plus logic. Again, if you're familiar with the current logic, none of it's changed. The only thing that has changed in the IDS Plus category was that P&Q, which is a RS485 type communication protocol. Again, where we're going to lower blower speed and coil temperatures to low minimum. Whereas before we only had technology of lowering the fan speed. IDS Lite overview. Same as what we know it. Of course, again, we got this SEER2 and HSPF2 numbers there. It is fully modulating, 15 SEER technology. Still have the 3 outdoor unit footprints, whereas the 2 and 3 is going to be smaller than the 5-ton footprint. And we also have the 33 to 110% capacity range on that product as well, which I believe is the same as what it was. And this particular product, again, paired with that BWA and BCA air handler models as well, is ideal for new construction projects. Kind of hits some of those targets, perhaps applications in the south and the warmer climates and so forth for those IDS Lite numbers. And as far as logic goes, nothing changed here in the logic of that IDS Lite. It's still the same. Still have an air handler, 3-speed PSC motor. So it's single fan speed. Target coils can be changed using the dip switches and so forth. So no real changes in the control logic of that 15 on 15 matchup. So noticeable, or not noticeable, but notable component changes as we move from the 410A to the 454B product line. Again, indoor board had to be redesigned to accommodate that A2L sensor. Again, that protocol is going to be compressor gets shut off so that we're not circulating refrigerant anymore. And we've got to dilute any type of refrigerant leak that we have. So we're going to turn that fan speed to high. And that's how we're going to dilute it. Consult your install manuals with regards to, a minimum square footage and things of that nature for this, let's call it dilution process, if you will, or dissipation of any type of refrigerant leak. Thermostat wiring changes. No changes to the 15 on 15. There's no changes there. There's no impact. The impact or changes comes when paired with the 20 SEER air handler. You now have the optional communication for that enhanced dehumidification. Compressor had to be compatible, so we had to change that. Same thing on the reversing valve coil. So we mirrored that with the premium and moved it over to a 220 volt coil. Indoor TXV compatible for 454B. And then same thing on the electrical. Having 3 15-SEER outdoor units, 2-ton, 3-ton, and 5-ton, we are now and have shifted to a 30 amp service on the 3-ton and a 45 amp service or max fuse size on the 5-ton. And of course, surge protectors can always help protect equipment from power surges. However, this is not a requirement. Air handler changes, really. I kind of alluded to some of these already. We still have the 15 and the 20. We still have factory installed aluminum coils, factory installed TXVs. The only difference here is going to be the motor, PSC on the 15-SEER, and an ECM style or ECM two-stage motor on the 20-SEER. The only other difference of that 20-SEER is it still has the T2 sensor for the anti-cold blow technology. So we're going to delay that fan. I believe 86 degrees is that number. Delay the fan for coming on so we're not blowing cold air. Energy Star ratings here. This is more of a kind of an eye chart. I probably don't follow this chart as much as some of you do out there. But you can see as far as the new Energy Star numbers, the V6.1 on the air handler, kind of some cold climate numbers you see on the light in the 2-ton version, and then of course across the board on the plus and the premium. Couple of different things. Looks like there for the 2-ton on the regular. So these numbers can also be found in the brochure. I've got to assume, again, I don't follow these like probably some of you guys do, but I'm sure there's another location for these numbers. But this is just an eye chart here for you. I think I might seen Shaz say that this presentation will be shared, so you guys have that at your fingertips as well. BW air handler, or BWA, excuse me, air handler, noted coming soon. It's in the works for its transition. I just don't know when it's going to be available just yet with the new refrigerant. I'm certain, and I don't know if I can fully answer this question, but I'm certain there's perhaps maybe still some of that product available. So it might be a while before you see this. But nonetheless, this is information that we already have. Port sizes, 18 to 36. We do have electric heat available for this. 5, 7.5, and 10. Pairs nicely with the 15-SEER outdoor unit. And there's your SEER 2 and SEER 2 and HSPF numbers there at the bottom. Same thing on the ceiling mount, the BCA. It too is coming soon. Just don't know when. Same sizes here, 18 through 36. Still pairs with the 15-SEER outdoor, being the 2, 3, and such. As far as those matchups go, SEER 2 HSPF numbers. One thing I do also want to just point out is image shown here is without a case for attaching a ductwork. That case that this unit can slide into is sold separately. And that's some information that you can find in the brochure as well. Gas furnace. Now this product is launched already. It was launched with the IDS Ultra because there are some pairings. There are some dual fuel pairings with that Ultra that you guys probably already seen. This is now our Rev C gas furnace. Was launched with the evaporator coil as well for those dual fuel options there. Currently is still 96%. They're still multi-poise, no downflow applications for us. It is upflow horizontal, at least at this time. That could change by year end, but for right now, that is what we have. This furnace was updated to accommodate an A2L sensor. And some of those changes was a constant air ECM fan motor. Some of you might know it as variable speed. We call it a constant air. We had to add an additional printed circuit board in this unit to accommodate that A2L sensor for the same refrigerant mitigation that I spoke about earlier. Some other big changes to this, if you haven't heard, excuse me, was some of the venting. Some previous install manuals, we did not have the approval of concentric venting, flush mount venting type terminations, external drain tees. These items have now all been added to the IOM of this Rev C gas furnace. It's still the reliable, proven two-stage design. Still comes with an LP kit and pairs quite nicely with heat pumps, achieving that SEER2 rating of up to 18.5 and some HSPF2 ratings of 9.5. So take a peek at your brochures. These matchups are in there. And if I'm not mistaken, I saw some 5-on-3 matchups in there as well. So it just kind of depends on what you pair that thing up with. Case coils, not a lot of change here, except TXV compatibility. We had to put in a new TXV. It is still non-adjustable. We did have to add a sensor. One thing too, I'll just throw out there, the position of these sensors in the evaporator and the air handler and the case coil. If we are moving them to horizontal applications, you just want to make sure that you relocate them per the IOMs. But this case coil still have the 5 models at 20 inches tall and the other 5 at 30 inches tall. So no real changes there except refrigerant compatibility and the addition of that A2L sensor. And this can also be multi-positional. So this particular coil can be installed in a downflow configuration, even if we do not have a Bosch downflow furnace. So dual fuel options, as I mentioned, Ultra, Premium, Plus, Light, anything and all of the above can be paired with an evaporator coil and the gas furnace to get those ratings in those dual fuel applications, providing your applications are upflow and horizontal. BCC 110 thermostat. This particular thermostat was updated. It used to be a BCC 100. It's now the 110. And the biggest changes here was the Energy Star rating. So along with the Energy Star rating came the demand response capable, or compatibility, if you will. And if you're unfamiliar with demand response, it's a program that a homeowner can opt into to have some load shedding done or AC usage turn on or off during peak or unpeak times. This was originated in California, but in order for us to get that Energy Star rating, we had to put it in our thermostat across the board. So that is the only thermostat that we have. It is also Amazon Alexa, Google Assistant compatible. And we still have the ability to flash updates to that when necessary or when they come up. So a couple of changes there. IDS heat kits. One of the big takeaways here was the 3-stage heater kits for the Ultra. And that's denoted by that 15i and the 20i. But the rest are 2-stage. You got a couple single stage there. Of course, we got 5 up to 20. Key note here, though, is the heat kit model numbers didn't change, but the part numbers did. I did run into this a few months back with a couple of distributors where their systems still had just the model in there. We have now changed the part number also. So until we get through that product, I don't know what that product inventory number looks like. But until we get through that product, you're going to basically have 10 different part numbers for strip kits, 2 for a 5 kW, 2 for a 7.5, and so forth. Another key factor here is this. The 454B kits are UL listed and rated for that, and they are not backwards compatible. excuse me, the 454B kits are backwards compatible. The old EHKs are not forwards compatible. And the reason for that is that UL listing. So just keep that in mind when going through those as far as availability and stock and all that good stuff. Some things that I don't have everyday visibility on. And then the other thing too is if I use the Ultra comes with a 3-stage, or excuse me, a 3-prong to 4-prong. So if I went with a 2-stage kit, it's a 4-stage or a 4-pin prong on the Ultra unit that I would need the adapter for, and that adapter ships with that Ultra unit. As continuing on with controls and accessories, this has been a big topic of question as of late. This is an accessory box. You know, as we're talking about 454B moving forward, we're talking about installing 454B indoor and outdoor on A, somebody else's furnace, or B, Bosch's Rev B gas furnace. Okay, so we're calling this a third-party box, which basically means our Bosch Rev B gas furnace is considered at this point a third-party furnace because this box would be needed for that refrigerant leak mitigation. Remember, I mentioned we're going to turn the compressor off and we got to turn that fan motor at high fan speed. So this box is littered with wires. I got thermostat in, I got indoor unit in, and I got outdoor unit in. These are the reasons for that, so that we can match that protocol or mitigation, if you will, on a leak. And then I'll just say here too, because it's come up in other topics or conversations, is the accessory box goes with the manufacturer of the coil. Okay, so don't know why anybody would want to put somebody else's coil in our product. I'm sure it's probably going to happen, but if that's the case, our third-party box is not going to work. The third-party box goes with the manufacturer of the coil. Okay. I did throw in here a couple slides as requested. Just kind of mention and let everybody know that the Greentronic 7000 is still out there and available. Ready for sale. 50 and 80 gallon tank available. 3 times more efficient than traditional electric water heaters using hybrid technology, where we got heat pump and electric heating elements. And this particular water heater, you can adjust it and so forth for various controls and configurations. It does have a demand response port. And some end user benefits. You know, again, this has been out for a while, and most of you may have already been selling it. This is here just merely a reminder or a refresher as far as some of the end user benefits, as far as going green and saving electricity and some backup elements, different operation modes that I mentioned, 10-year limited warranty on tank parts, and then of course some cost savings and federal tax credits that can be achieved on this water heater as well. And as far as applications go, we're talking single family, multifamily, new build, retrofit. The International Builders Show that I heard Sal mention earlier on Breakfast with Bosch, there is actually a mock home that we have not only a mini split system installed. There's some images that I saw the other day that has a couple of these tankless water heaters installed in there as well. So definitely applies to several different applications. That comes with a lot of cost savings as well. And then here's just kind of an end slide here showing some federal tax credit, 25C stuff. Some of, or not all of you may already be up on this, probably a little bit more than myself, as I don't deal with this on a daily basis. But it's just an additional slide that I thought I would include in there for your use. And then lastly, Bosch Home Comfort Pro. This is, if you haven't heard already, this is a big Bosch initiative for 2025. across the board, where we need to do everything as reps and distributors and employees and trainers to get people signed up and get hooked up with our home comfort programs. I know through some of my trainings, I often hear somebody's installed 50 of these things and they're not even part of the program, and they don't know or understand what the benefits they can receive and the points that can then rack up very, very quickly. When paired and attached using the Easier app, the registration process is seamless. It can be done right through the app. Doesn't have to be done through the partner portal from, let's say, somebody's contractor's office and so forth. So there are some rally point for gold and platinum members that points have increased. So it's a really cool program across the board, and we just need to make sure that we're taking every chance and every opportunity that we have to make sure that our contractors are receiving the benefits that can help them with their business. So with that, I did see some questions come through
Yep.
that we
Chris, I
can address
will.
at this time. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I've been documenting them, so let's go through them. Thank you for your presentation. Um, to any of our reps and distributors, you guys will receive this via an email after this, a copy of this presentation. Okay, and it's also being recorded too, so a recording of this webinar will be available as well. All right, so the first question, Chris, will the units quit working, or at what temperature will it stop working, and when will it start to derate as well? And I
Well,
think that question was mainly regarding the first one, which was kind of in between the IDS Ultra and the Premium, so maybe you can address both of them.
yeah. So as before, the premium unit -4 operating range, the unit will run beyond -4. As to what exactly its capacity is beyond -4, I don't know that number right offhand. But if the unit satisfies or gets shut off at temperatures below -4, it will not come back on until we get above that -4 number. The numbers I showed you on the light and the plus was a +3 range to a 120-degree range, and that's going to be similar in concept. It will run below that number. What that capacity is below that number, not exactly sure. What I will say and share with you is our expanded ratings. We don't, guys, we don't hide anything. Our website is a great information resource highway. You go to our website and you go to the products tab or technical documentation tab, you'll see our engineering submittals and our product specifications. In those documents, you will find at which point capacities start to drop off, and they're published. Now, these are Bosch on Bosch numbers. So if you're pairing this with somebody else's coil, which we should be doing everything in our power moving forward to pair them with Bosch coils, because we don't have published numbers. But nonetheless, those engineering submittals and product specs has those, and I'm just saying typically we start dropping below 40 degrees is when our capacity of the unit is going to start dropping off as well. Somewhere around 40 degrees is when we're going to start to drop. Unlike that Ultra unit where we're going to maintain 100% at 5. So that's the difference between those two heat pumps. That's why the cold climate challenge on the IDS Ultra for those colder climates, so that we can have a higher capacity at lower temperature ranges. I hope that answered the question there.
It does. Next question, for the communicating option, lowering target cold temperature, will that only be within the guidelines of the SW4 dip switches, or additional expansion of lowering the target cold temperatures and temp hunting? And the comment was, we typically set up for the lowest target cold temperature and lock in temp hunting, but if this expands that for better control, that will help in this out.
It does expand it. And Mr. Chris Morrissey, if you need to help chime in here too, you can. But it is going to help expand it. It's just going to be automatic. So if we were to currently set dip switches to 42, and then we have a natural drift built in there, we're going to see temperatures go down to the 38 range. It's my understanding, and I don't have a full printed logic form on this, but it's my understanding that this number is going to be automatic now, not in the form of dip switches, because it's going to be either or. Okay, we can't have communication protocol and be able to set the dip switches at the same time. But it's my understanding that it's going to do that automatically, based on set points and thermostat and all that stuff. But I don't think it's going to be like lower than 38 degrees. We're still kind of 38 is going to be the bottom end of that coil number, as well as lowering that fan speed. I don't know, Chris, if you're still on there, if there's anything you can expand to that.
I guess we should start out by letting the guys know the coil temp, and what we've seen in our testing is we've always known our coil temp to be at 46. Our coil temp appears to be at 48. So when we have a two-wire communication, our coil temperature reduces by 7 to 8 degrees Fahrenheit. So that temperature can go down to 40 degrees. I think what they're asking is if they drop their coil temp to go that extra 4 degrees, to go from 48, which is now bottoming out at 44, yes, you will still have another 7 to 8 degree drift to go down for your dehumidification mode. Non-communication, that doesn't happen. Non-communication, our original
Correct.
legacy 4-wire getup, will operate in dehumidification the way you have always known it to.
Correct. That's exactly how I recall it as well. I don't know. I haven't had any physical testing of that myself. I don't know, Chris, if you have just yet or not on that, but that is how we know it today.
Yep. Good. Next question. How can, I think this was in particular to a particular slide where you were showing the electrical data, but how can the MOCP be higher than the max fuse size? I don't know if you can go back to that slide.
Yeah, I had a feeling this question was going to come up. And the only reason I had a feeling is, one, I'm not a licensed electrician, nor am I an engineer. And when I saw those numbers, I did go back to the brochure on those numbers. Which were straight from the brochure. I'm going to go back up to this premium. So the question was, how could MOC or max over current protection be higher than max fuse size? I may have to reserve that question for one of our engineers that's going to be able to better help answer that. I don't want to talk out of place here. Again, I'm not a licensed electrician, but it was brought to our attention that the circuit size to these units was reduced with the changeover to the 454B.
Yep. So we'll circle back on that question afterwards. Maybe something for us to take back to our engineering team. All right. Do we have the release date for the new BW and BCA yet? I don't believe we do at the moment.
No, it's still in works right now. It's still in project mode. I have not heard of any release dates on that one yet either.
Yep. Key kits in the future for BCA, which I believe we do, but it's it is in the future for BCA, if that's the answer that you're looking for.
Okay, well, that's something I was unaware of on the BCA.
We currently don't. We do not have strip
correct
heater ability in the ceiling mounts. I don't know if we are going to future, Shaz.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's could be in the future. I'm not sure. So I'm just saying. It was just asking, like, if it's in the future for BCA. Any plans for 97% plus furnace? I think we'll also skip the question because we don't till we have an alignment with our product management team. Not allowed to speak about new product launches at the moment. Do you have the Bosch product number for the new, I believe, front return, which is the BWA? So I think it is in our price books, but we can also put in the chat. I'll I'll look at it shortly, and I'll put that in the chat as well. Do we need the A2L accessory box if we are using someone else's 80% furnace? And I'm not going to say the rest of the statement.
The answer is yes. Any
Okay.
third-party furnace that is not A2L compatible, and we're putting a Bosch coil and outdoor unit on it, must have the accessory box that comes with Bosch. Excuse me, it's sold separately. It does not come with anything. Keep in mind, it has a separate part number and is sold separately.
All right. Question. I saw in the manual there's an accelerated cooling 2-dip switch. Will this allow the low 40 target without communication?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. Can you go back to the electrical box needed for A2L when pairing up with third-party furnaces? They just need to see the slide. All right, not sure if it answers the question, but there you go. I think that was just the yes. And we'll share the presentation with all of our reps and distributors. And then can you dive into the internal logic behind enhanced humidification with the communicating plus and premium? Not sure if you will be able to cover it in time, Chris.
Yeah, the logic or the internal logic that was shared with us is basically what Chris Morrissey just talked about. The ability to adjust 7 to 8 degrees lower than X automatically, at the same time as lowering indoor fan. So before we weren't able to lower it as low as, but there hasn't been any specific logic that has been shared with us. I think due in part to proprietary information there as to what those exact specifics are. So I don't have anything at this time.
Okay. I believe that's all the questions. Let me see if I can. If anybody else has any questions, please feel free to put in the chat or ask questions. I will also, at this point, allow mics for everybody. If you choose to ask questions, feel free to ask now. And we'll stay on the call for another couple minutes to answer any other lingering questions that there may be.